Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Star Trek Voyager, Season 6, Episode 23, Fury. The return of Kes. I mean, it's been 3 years, which it doesn't really feel that long, especially since I've been binging this so fast. But it's kind of, like, I'll admit, this episode was actually a little bit of a letdown. I was super excited for Kes's return, and I knew that it was going to be big, and I knew it was going to be bad in a good way. But, like, this ended up just kind of being bad. Like, I didn't feel engaged in it. I didn't feel, like, connected to Kes, and most of the time, like, for one, Kes just seemed bored out of her mind through most of this episode, which could have been the actress. And then by the time we get to the end and the whole time thing, like, it's almost like some sort of loop that they did, like some sort of a paradox, I guess. It just didn't work for me. Like, I didn't enjoy it. I would rather have seen a bigger, badder version and more destruction without the time travel element. But so to start from the beginning, work our way down. You guys know the drill. I've done this like 600 times. So they talk about let's see. It starts with Janeway talking to Tuvok about, like, whatever. She's like, how long have we known each other? Like, approximately 20 years, 3 different starships, and it turns out that it's his birthday. Which, by the way, like, after 20 years, you think she would know when his birthday is. And how do they really even do birthdays? Like, I'm assuming his birthday goes by the Vulcan calendar and not like the Earth calendar. So I've never actually thought about that before, but I'm curious to see how they measure birthdays. Like, if my birthday's in July for the Earth thing, but I go to Vulcan, like, do I still celebrate it every 365 Earth days? Or, like, whatever the Vulcan calendar is, do I just I don't know, it's weird. But anyways, and what kind of stood out to me, and I don't know if the writers did it intentional or not, is she says, like, oh, so you're about to hit the big 3 digits. Tuvok is over 100 years old. Like, he's actually, like, I think 112, 113 at this point. And he just says ND. Like, he doesn't correct her. He doesn't, like, say no or anything. But I think that's interesting. I don't know if they just didn't have it finite when his birthday was at this point. But I even had to look it up. Like, what year was he born? And then what year did this episode take place? And I mean, if you even, like, count down to he was on the Sulu ship during the 6th movie, which was about 100 years ago. Like, he's over 100 years. So that whole line just kind of threw it off. Like I said, we see Kes, like, she's older now, which would make sense because I think she was 2 when she came on board, so she'd be about 8 years at this point, and they live to be 9, so she's coming up to the end. The collision course, she kills B'Elanna right away, which actually kind of surprised me. And then they do the time jump into 56 days into the Delta Quadrant. So, I mean, this is still early season 1 at this point. She goes back to being a lot younger. And like I said, there's so many scenes where she just seems so bored. And I understand, like, her character at this point is kind of supposed to be, like, more sociopathic. Like, she's just kind of numb on the inside because she's so full of anger and stuff. But she just seems like, I don't want to be here, but they're paying my bills. And then the whole thing with, like, Neelix flirting with her, like, so it was just creepy. Like, it kind of worked in the first couple of seasons and stuff like that, Neelix just being obsessed with her. But, like, seeing it now was just really awkward to me. Like, I didn't really like it. Ensign Wildman makes her return, which kind of pissed me off a little bit. Because, like, for one, it's only in the flashback. We don't see her in the present scene. And then they never, like, why is she even in this episode? Like, is she just in it to be like, I'm in season 1? Because she's supposed to be, like, we see Naomi a lot in this series, but we don't see Ensign Wildman. We only see her like 4 or 5 times in the entire series. And it just always kind of drove me crazy. Like, even I mentioned like a couple of reviews ago where they had the science fair and Naomi's there with her little project, but why is Ensign Wildman not making an appearance as well? I feel like she should have been there. And it just kind of annoyed me to see her in this episode. We start seeing clips of, like, Tuvok remembers the Delta Flyer. He sees Naomi, which, again, we didn't need Naomi in this one. He sees the Borg children and stuff like that. And so it turns out that Tuvok is, like, covered in tachyons, and so he's getting these premonitions of the future. They even say, like, Vulcans don't have premonitions. So in theory, he's having, like, a mental connection to the older Kes and getting those premonitions from her, but she wouldn't know who Naomi or these Borg children are. So why he's seeing it doesn't quite make sense. And then finally we get to the end, and like it's just they kill the older Kes, and they're like, okay, so young Kes, we're gonna need to make a deal. And then so it goes back to the beginning with the whole birthday thing, and then when they're like, there's an Ocampan approaching, and she's like, I almost forgot. And I was like, seriously, that's the ending you guys chose for this? And then, like, when Kes boards the ship because Janeway magically, like, took out everybody from Deck 11, and we see the hologram of the past Kes saying, stop taking this out on Janeway. We made this decision. Leave him alone. And then she's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And so Janeway just sends her back to the Ocampan homeworld. Like, if you took out the time travel, like, if I was so excited to see Kes come back. I was not a big Kes fan in the first 3 seasons. Like, if you watch those reviews I did, like, a lot of those first 3 seasons, I didn't like those episodes. But, like, it was still kind of cool to see her come back, and I was super interested in it. But, like, the time travel thing and all of that just took me out so hard that I just didn't care by the end. And then when we get into this time travel loop that only her and Tuvok know that an old Kes is going to attack us in 3 years, or 5 years, whatever. Like, it didn't work for me. I didn't like it, and it creates this paradox because they only know because she did go in the past, and so how do you get there? But I don't know. I could not get into it, and I just wanted to see Kes have just carnage and then figure something else out without time travel. For those who have seen this one, what did you guys think about seeing Kes? And before, like, Kes goes home, there's, again, the creepy Neelix just staring at her, and she's like, you see anybody you know? Like, that's her exact line. And it's just like, stop. Like, it's a weird thing. I don't like it. So, for those who have seen this one, what did you think about the return of Kes? What would you have done different? Like, were you glad to see her? Were you just like, we didn't need it? Go ahead, let me know. We're almost done with Season 6. So, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. And I will see you guys next time for Lifeline.